Welcome, Fright Night Vault listeners. I need you to settle in for this one, because it isn't the kind of case the church ever wanted told out loud. A mother asked for help after everything else failed, and two priests walked into a room that felt like it was waiting for them. Subscribe to the vault and never walk alone again. Tonight's audio horror, The Demon That Wouldn't Let Go, starts now. You ever see someone lose their sense of themselves, little by little, and you know it's not something the doctors can fix? That's what the mother kept saying. Her daughter had been fading for weeks, slipping into these long, quiet spells, then waking up with bruises she couldn't explain. At first you'd think sleepwalking, or stress, but the girl kept saying things that didn't sound like her. Her voice would drag at the end of a sentence, like she was trying to fight someone for the right to speak. The mother said she'd hear her daughter whisper, "Don't let it in," though nobody else was in the room. She'd sit upright at night and stare at the wall as if listening to someone breathe on the other side. The doctors tried everything. Tests, scans, a full psychiatric review. Nothing showed up. The mother said the worst moment came when the girl looked at her with this blank expression and asked why she was still pretending to be her mother. The girl said, "It already knows your name," even though she didn't understand what she was saying. That was the moment the mother called the church. Not because she believed in demons, but because she didn't know what else to do. Father Elias was the one who answered the call. Calm man, heavy shoulders, the kind of priest who didn't talk unless he had to. He brought Father Marin with him, younger, still learning when to trust his instincts. They both said the same thing when they walked into the house. The air felt heavy, not haunted, not cursed, just crowded, like someone else was there already, listening from across the room. The mother showed them to her daughter's room, and on the way up the stairs, Father Marin said he heard someone whisper behind him. A man's voice, low, clear. It said, "You're late." The girl was sitting on the bed when they walked in, knees pulled to her chest, eyes half open like she hadn't slept in days. She didn't look possessed. She looked tired, the kind of tired that sinks past the skin and settles in the bones. When she looked up at the priests, something in her expression changed. This faint flicker of recognition, like she knew them somehow. She whispered, "It hates you already." And Father Elias said her voice didn't sound like a child's voice at all. It was too steady, too certain. He asked her if something was inside the room with them. She shook her head slowly and whispered, "It's not in the room." He asked where it was. She lifted her finger and pointed to her own chest. Then she pointed to her throat as if tracing the path of something that lived deeper than breath. She said, "It sits right here," and tapped her sternum. "It waits." They asked her if it had a name. She didn't answer at first. She just looked at the floor and breathed through her teeth like the air hurt to swallow. Then she whispered, "It doesn't use names, it uses yours." Father Marin said that's when he felt the temperature drop. Not a draft, not a cold spot, just this slow pull of heat away from the center of the room. The mother backed up against the doorframe, holding herself like something might reach for her if she didn't keep moving. Father Elias asked the girl if she wanted help. For a split second, he swore she nodded. Then her head jerked in the opposite direction, too sharp, too fast, like someone else had grabbed her by the jaw. She smiled with half her mouth, just the left side, and whispered, "She's not coming back out." Father Marin said that's when he knew they weren't dealing with a sickness or a delusion. Something else was speaking through her, wearing her voice like a mask. The priests stepped back, and the girl lifted her head like she smelled something she didn't like. Her eyes rolled upward for a moment, as if someone behind them had said a name she recognized. Then she whispered, "I told you. You're late." And that was the start of what the church later called an unauthorized intervention, though everybody who survived it knows exactly what it really was. Father Elias asked the mother to leave the room so they could speak with the girl alone. She didn't want to. You could see it in how her hand stayed on the doorknob even after she stepped into the hallway. The priests moved closer to the girl, and Father Marin said he felt something watching from behind her eyes. Not her, not fear. Something patient, something studying them like it was waiting for the right moment to speak. Elias knelt beside the bed and asked the girl again if she wanted help. Her breathing changed. It slowed until each inhale sounded like it had to be pulled from deep inside her chest. Then she whispered, "I don't need help," in a voice that wasn't hers. It sounded older, rougher, like someone who hadn't spoken in years. Elias kept talking, his voice steady, asking who he was speaking to. The girl's lips barely moved when she answered, "You already know me." And Marin said the sound of it made his ribs tighten. Elias reached for his rosary, and that's when the air shifted. Not the temperature this time. The room felt like it expanded a little, as if they'd stepped into a space bigger than the walls allowed. The girl's spine arched the slightest bit, just enough to notice, not enough to look impossible. She whispered, "Put it away," as her eyes rolled toward the beads in his hand. Elias didn't move. He just asked why. The girl said, "It makes her scream," and Marin swore he heard a second voice behind hers, too faint to catch the words, like someone was trying to talk through water. They started the preliminary rite, nothing dramatic, just prayers spoken low and steady. The demon didn't throw furniture, didn't roar, didn't make lights explode. It did something worse. It made the girl laugh, quiet, barely a breath, a sound that didn't match the angle of her mouth or the look in her eyes. She whispered, "He doesn't believe," and her gaze slid to Father Marin. He didn't answer, but Elias said he saw something in the younger priest's expression, a tiny crack of doubt he couldn't hide. The girl's body stiffened. Her shoulders pulled back as if invisible hands pressed against them. Elias kept praying, but Marin stepped forward too fast, like he wanted to stop whatever was happening. The demon spoke again, louder this time but still controlled. "He's afraid you'll leave him alone with me," it said, and the girl's head tilted in a way no child's head should tilt. Marin froze, not because of the words, because the girl said it using the exact tone of his late brother's voice. Elias grabbed the girl's wrist, grounding her, but her arm twisted with this slow, unnatural rotation, like she'd forgotten where her joints were supposed to stop. She didn't cry out. She didn't react at all. Her eyes stayed on Marin. She whispered, "You let him die," and the room felt like it shrank around them. Marin stepped back, shaking his head, whispering that the demon didn't know anything. Elias told him not to respond, to stay focused. The girl lifted off the bed an inch, just an inch. No sudden jerk, no dramatic force. Her body floated as if gravity had loosened its grip. Her hair hung downward, unmoving, and her feet pointed toward the mattress. Elias kept praying, but the girl leaned backward midair, spine bending into a slow arc, and she whispered, "You can't take her from me." Marin grabbed Elias's arm, whispering that they needed to stop and regroup, but Elias didn't look away from the girl. He said the demon wasn't showing power, it was showing patience, like it was testing how far it could push them before they broke. The girl's eyes rolled downward again, and she whispered, "He'll break first." Her body dropped suddenly, not thrown, not slammed, just released, like something let go of her. She hit the bed and curled into herself, shaking. Not possessed shaking, terrified shaking. She whispered, "It's getting tired of waiting." And for the first time since they'd entered the room, she sounded like a child again. The mother rushed back in as soon as she heard her daughter cry. Elias tried to stop her, but she pushed past him and wrapped her arms around the girl. The girl didn't look at her. She didn't even seem to know she was being held. She whispered, "I didn't say that," even though no one had accused her of anything. Elias told the mother they had to begin the formal rite. Maren hesitated, still shaken, but he nodded when Elias looked at him. The mother asked how long it would take. Elias said he didn't know, but they had to start before the entity settled deeper. The girl lifted her head slowly and stared at all three of them. Her face went blank, completely blank, like someone had wiped every trace of personality from her expression. She whispered, "I'm already deeper than you think." And the lights in the hallway flickered once, just once, as if something walked past them on its way into the room. They began the formal rite just after midnight. Elias positioned himself at the foot of the bed while Maren stood near the door, rosary in hand, like he was guarding the room even though he knew nothing physical would come through that doorway. The mother stayed in the hallway, praying under her breath, her shadow trembling against the dim light behind her. The girl stared at the ceiling, not blinking, not moving, just breathing slowly, as if she were listening to something above her. Elias started with the opening prayer. His voice was steady, measured, but Maren said the moment the words left his mouth, the girl's breathing changed. It grew shallow, then uneven, then stopped for 2 full seconds before restarting in a slow, dragging pull. She whispered, "Don't start," though her lips hardly moved. Elias kept reading, and her hands tightened into fists so hard her knuckles cracked in the silence. Her shoulders lifted from the mattress again, smoother this time, as though something inside her had practiced. Her spine arched in a long, slow bend, not violent, just wrong. Maren stepped closer, and the girl's head turned toward him with this stiff mechanical motion, like her neck resisted every inch. She whispered, "He doesn't trust you." And Maren said her voice sounded layered, almost like two people trying to speak through the same throat. Elias raised the crucifix. The girl's eyes snapped open wide and her pupils shrank to pinpoints. She whispered, "She's burning," and then her body lifted higher, a full foot off the bed, limbs dangling downward like she'd been suspended by invisible wires. The mattress dipped beneath her as if something heavy pressed down where she'd just been lying. Elias kept praying louder now, not shouting, just firm, confident. But the girl began twisting in the air, slow rotations, her back bending at angles that made Maren grip his rosary so tight he left marks in his palm. Elias commanded the entity to reveal itself. The girl's mouth stretched open in a long, silent inhale, too wide, too long, as if something deeper inside her was pulling at the edges of her face. When she finally exhaled, she whispered, "You know me already." And the crucifix in Elias's hand trembled like the metal vibrated from an internal strain. Maren moved to restrain her, even though he knew restraint wouldn't do anything. He reached out, but her body jerked sideways in midair, like something dragged her out of his reach. She didn't hit the wall. She stopped an inch before it, suspended upright, her chin tilted downward, her legs dangling. Her arms hung straight at her sides until her shoulders rolled back with a slow cracking sound, and her hands lifted on their own. She whispered, "You're not enough," in a voice that didn't match her mouth's movement. Elias told the demon to release her. The girl's head pressed back against the wall as if something behind her pushed her skull forward. She whispered, "She's mine," and the wall behind her groaned. Not because of force, but because the plaster couldn't decide if it wanted to hold her weight or reject her completely. Maren stepped forward and placed his rosary against her ankle. The girl's entire body convulsed once, a single sharp movement that snapped her spine forward before dropping her back into that hanging posture. She whispered, "I'll show you faith." And then her fingers curled inward so tightly the nails broke skin. Elias commanded again, calling the demon by an old name the church still uses in private files. The girl's face changed instantly. Every muscle tightened, her jaw set, her eyes rolled downward but not all the way, like something inside her wanted to watch the reaction without giving itself away. Then she spoke in a voice that wasn't layered anymore. It was singular, direct. focused. "You shouldn't have said that," she whispered, and the lamp in the hallway behind the mother flickered like something brushed past it again. The girl rotated in the air until she was horizontal, suspended flat like she was lying on an invisible table. Maren said her hair flowed upward instead of down, like something above her was pulling at the strands. Elias kept praying, and the girl turned her head toward him, mouth trembling as if two people inside her were fighting over who got to speak first. Then she smiled, small, subtle, wrong. She whispered, "She begged me for help." And the words didn't sound like they came from her throat. They sounded like they came from her chest, like her lungs were forming sentences without permission. Elias demanded the demon release the girl, and the girl's body snapped downward suddenly, stopping inches above the bed again. She looked at Maren, eyes half open, and whispered, "You prayed for him too late." Maren froze. Elias tried to pull his focus back, but Maren's hands shook, the beads slipping between his fingers. The girl twisted her neck toward him and whispered, "He called your name." And Maren stepped back as if struck. Elias moved between them, continuing the rite, calling the demon's authority false. The girl's body bent backward so sharply her chest lifted toward the ceiling in an impossible angle. She whispered, "I'm older than authority," and Elias said the sound of it didn't echo right. It felt too close, too intimate, like the words formed inside his ear instead of across the room. Her back lifted higher, her chest rose, her arms spread outward in a slow, cruel stretch. Her fingers extended until the joints trembled. She whispered, "She isn't yours to save," and her entire body locked into place as if she'd been frozen mid-contortion. Then, in the same calm voice, she whispered, "But I can break you both." And for the first time that night, Elias felt it too. The sense that something else besides the girl was standing in the room with them, watching them both from a place they couldn't see. The girl's body hung there for a moment, locked in that awful angle, arms stretched out, chest rising too high for a human spine. Elias stepped forward first. He pressed the crucifix to her sternum and kept reading, forcing every word through the pressure that had begun tightening around his throat. Maren said he felt the same pressure, like something invisible had closed its hand around the air between them. The girl's eyes snapped open. They were unfocused at first, then they fixed on Elias with this blank recognition, like she finally understood exactly who he was. She whispered, "You're the one it wants." And her body dropped, hitting the bed hard enough to shake the frame. Her back arched again, but lower this time, like someone inside her had retreated and was pulling her down with it. Elias kept praying, louder now, voice shaking but unbroken. The girl curled into herself, and something inside her chest made a tight clicking sound, as if ribs pressed against one another from the inside. She whispered, "Stop saying my name," though Elias had never said her name out loud during the rite. Maren leaned in, whispering that they needed to push harder, and Elias nodded, never breaking rhythm. Then the room turned silent. Not quiet, silent. Every natural sound in the house seemed to vanish at once. No breathing from the hallway, no settling wood, just a thick, oppressive stillness. The girl's body stilled too, and her head lifted slowly from the mattress. She whispered, "It's leaving." But there was no relief in her voice. No hope. Just this thin, trembling note that sounded like someone watching the end of something they didn't want to see. Her jaw clenched. Hard. She whispered, "Don't let it take you." And that was the last thing she said with her own voice. Elias felt it first. He said it felt like something stepped through him. Not into him. Not possessing him. Just moving through his body like smoke through cloth. He lost his breath for a second, grabbing the edge of the bed to keep from falling. Maren reached for him but froze when the girl started convulsing again. Her body lifted halfway off the mattress and dropped. Lifted again, dropped, each movement sharper, faster, her breaths coming in short, choking gasps. It wasn't leaving quietly. It was ripping its way out. Marin read from the rite with his voice breaking each time he saw her limbs twist. Elias forced himself upright and joined him, both priests speaking over the sound of her body hitting the bed again and again. The girl's mouth opened, but the sound that came out didn't belong to her. It was low, rumbling, a voice without breath, a voice that didn't use the room's acoustics. It whispered, "I'll wait for you," and the force of it seemed to calm her body instantly. Then she collapsed, completely limp, silent. Her chest rose once, then twice, then steadied into a normal rhythm. Marin dropped to his knees beside her, repeating her name, checking her pulse, whispering thanks under his breath. Elias sank into the chair by the wall, trembling, crucifix still in hand. The mother rushed in and held her daughter, crying into her hair, whispering that it was over, that everything was over now. But the girl opened her eyes, and she looked past her mother, past Marin, past Elias, and she whispered with a hollow flatness, "It's not gone." Elias stood up too fast, dizzy, gripping the dresser to stay upright. The mother didn't understand. She kept asking what her daughter meant, but the girl's expression didn't change. She said, "It left because it tasted him," and her eyes drifted toward Elias. "It knows him now." Elias tried to speak, but the words never came out. The mother asked if her daughter was still possessed, and the girl shook her head. "It's not in me," she whispered. "It's somewhere else." Elias felt that pressure again, a brief pulse across his ribs, like a hand brushing the inside of his chest. He steadied himself, telling everyone the entity's influence would fade with time, but Marin caught the look in his eyes. He knew Elias didn't believe what he was saying. They stayed until dawn. The girl slept like she hadn't slept in months. The mother stayed by her side. Marin walked Elias to the door, asking him if he felt anything strange, anything lingering. Elias said no, but his hand never left his chest. The church wrote the event down as a successful expulsion. They closed the file. They moved on. But 3 nights later, Elias woke up sitting upright in his bed, staring at the corner of his room. He didn't remember sitting up. He didn't remember waking. But he remembered the voice, not spoken out loud, spoken inside the quiet between his own thoughts. It whispered the same words the girl had said. "You're the one it wants." Elias tried to call Marin the next morning, but never got through. Marin disappeared before the week was over. No record, no note, just gone. Elias resigned from the church 2 months later. He wouldn't talk about why. He wouldn't talk about the girl. He wouldn't talk about the possession. But he told one person, the one who interviewed him for the file that never made it into church archives. He said the entity wasn't bound to the girl. It was bound to whoever drew its attention during the rite. He looked at the interviewer with this hollow certainty and whispered, "I think that's how it chooses." He said sometimes he felt it behind him, sometimes in the corner, sometimes moving across the room when he closed his eyes, and the last thing he said before walking away was the line that stayed with the investigator for years afterward. He whispered, "It didn't leave her. It followed me." A month after that, Elias vanished too. And when the investigator visited the girl and her mother to follow up years later, the girl said she still woke up some nights and felt something standing at the foot of her bed, waiting. She said it never spoke to her again, but she felt it watching the doorway like it was hoping someone else would walk in. She whispered, "It still knows his name." Well, Fright Night Vault listeners, this is the end of this story. If you have a horror story of your own, please feel free to drop it in the comment section. You never know, the next story could be yours. Subscribe to the Vault and never walk alone again.